last year is there's so many acronyms that go with all these different titles. And military has one set of acronyms that match up with maybe bureau acronyms that match up. I can't get it right, so.
Simple question. We're about 2 miles from the border of the Tule Springs National Monument. As it stands right now, we have a full-time ranger, and we'll have 2 18-month appointments, and that's it.
Okay.
What have you done to help us out with Tule Springs?
Let me tell you what I've done to try to help you out with Tule Springs. I've tried to block other programs like that. Tule Springs was done the right way. Whether you guys agree with me or not, this is something I'm passionate about. Tule Springs was done the right way. It went through the state, went to the county, everybody was on agreement. They all wanted this to happen. Now, that's the way legislation should be done, and so it become a mine. But we continue to dedicate all these lands out here that don't even meet the characteristics of the Antiquities Act. The Antiquities Act is supposed to, it was designed to take those areas that were of significant value and protect them. We just had the Basin and Range Monument, 704,000 acres dedicated out there as a national monument. Sounds great, sounds wonderful. There's 150 acres out there that's legitimately part of that should be under the Antiquities Act. Now, is it any wonder that we can't afford to do what needs to happen at Tule Springs? Right now, by Department of Interior's own admission, $19+ billion of backlogs of land that they can't take care of right now. So we continue to do this, and there's going to be a whole bunch more before this guy leaves office. But every time we do that, it takes more money out of the coffers. I don't know if you know or not, but we're over 19 trillion in debt right now. All right. With that happening, where do you think we're going to get the funding to do what we need to do at the Tule Springs? Tule Springs is a value. It's an asset to this community, and I have my own aspirations of Tule Springs myself. It should be an educational system out there for archaeological school. It should be a tourist attraction for all of that studies out there. And if you haven't been out there and understand what's out there, all of the bones that have been harvested out there are in San Bernardino.
Except for 10,000.
Well, some of them are back over here now.
You can see it at the national museum.
Yeah, but
the state museum.
Yeah, but that's just barely happening. Yeah,
So they brought back 10 truckloads.
yeah, but there's still a whole lot more that's not there.
I understand.
And so why aren't we benefiting from that attraction right here on site? So but it takes dollars to do that. It takes federal dollars to help support it. But if we continue to dilute the dollar, and we keep hearing about all this money we can continue to spend, I don't know about you, but it's not going to bother you folks. But that's the reason, one of the reasons I run for Congress, is I believe that we need to live under a balanced budget. I've actually introduced a couple of balanced budget amendments. They haven't gone anywhere yet. What's that? No, they just don't get brought up. So. But with that being said, I want you to think about something that I care about. I have my children that I care about. They're still young. They've got between 32 and 24 right now. And they haven't contributed to this debt. So every man, woman, and child in this nation right now owes approximately $60,000.
Yeah.
Now, as a responsible father and a husband, I believe that debt's on my head. So if I was to pay that all today, well, you figure that out, 6 times $60,000. It's a big chunk of change that I don't have. But that's the way I look at it. Maybe people look at it, hell, pass it on to my kids. But I don't.
Well, that's what Congress has done for so long.
Yeah.
Well, and
That's a fact. I worked in the U.S. Senate for Senator McClure, so it goes back a little while. So,
And it's not one party or the other.
No,
It's both sides of
I
the house.
understand that.
Over this last 8 years has contributed half of that.
Yeah, it has. He's doubled the debt. But, you know, people don't want to go through the sacrifice of making sure that we turn back responsibility to the states. Why does this happen, folks? In my opinion, go read your Constitution. It's one of them right out there. Got for you. Your Constitution gives the federal government certain enumerated powers. And I think that they intended us to live with them enumerated powers. All the rest were left up to the states. Because the government closest to the people is the best government. It's damn hard for you to get your hands on me back there in Washington, D.C., 2,500 miles away. As long as I can raise enough money, and guess what? I can probably stay in office forever. I don't care even though I'm an underdog. That's not why I'm here. I found that these type of things are the best thing to get out and give you information of how to get the benefits you're owed. And you should be paid the benefits that you've earned, that you paid for. Yes, ma'am.
Even in the worst of times in our country since its beginning, we've continued to set aside lands that needed that protection. And I was appreciative of what you just said about all of everybody coming together to work on legislation, because I don't know whether you remember me
I know
or
you,
not,
yeah.
but we had a nice trip.
We don't
out-
always agree.
We had a nice trip out to Goldview, and so we've been working all these years to get everybody to come together. And we put together a bill that we thought met everybody's needs. I mean, good grief, we've got a citizens committee that needs to go on, and we've got something going to happen with the boat ramp at the lake, and because those are things people wanted. And Dean Heller, I'm told, even supports it now. But we would really appreciate it if you felt like you could help us save Goldview. I just heard you say you were fifth. I'm fourth generation, and I spent all my adult life saving my dad's favorite places. And Goldview is the last one, and I'd surely like
Okay,
to see it.
let's be honest with Goldview. You be honest with me, and I'll be honest
I'll
with you.
be honest with
You
you.
want to talk about Goldview? Where's
Yeah.
Goldview? It's 60 miles from Mesquite. Now, let's save Goldview. If you want to save Goldview, let's save Goldview. But not 360,000 acres. That
You know that
is better managed by
there are
the.
2,000 cultural sites out there. When you were talking about the Antiquities Act,
That's right.
2,000 cultural sites. Now, that means that there are milk houses out there, there are
I
roasting
know where
pits
they're all
out
at.
there,
I know where
there
they're all
are
at.
petroglyphs. Now, you told me you didn't know Goldview very well. You must have really been doing some research.
Who told you that?
You did, when we were on our trip, that you knew the...
I didn't know it. I don't know it as well as other areas of the Arizona Strip, but I know Goldview very well.
All right. So it's an absolutely magnificent area.
There's things like the back of your hand, you know, and then there's things like maybe the back of your butt you can't see.
It has more red sandstone than Valley of Fire, and more petroglyphs than Valley of Fire and Red Rock put together. We've got something really special out there.
Yes.
To some.
All of our
Excuse me.
panelists are here now, so.
And do you still support Clyde and Bundy as strongly
And
as
we
ever?
have, this is a senior town hall, and thank you all for being here. So the Congressman is going to get
Start and begin here, so thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, thank you for being here, I appreciate it very much. First of all, I'd like to start with Mr. Messero. If he's here, I'd like to have him lead us in the praise. So get all, Mercero, sorry, get it.
You join me with the pledge? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, thank you for being here. You know, there's one thing I do believe, that seniors should receive those benefits that you paid for. You know, you've paid for your Social Security, you paid for your Medicare systems. You know, both of those are self-sustaining entities themselves.
They were supposed to be.
That's what I said, if the funds were not misused.
Yes.
And so,
If we paid for it, why is it called an entitlement?
somebody asked me that yesterday. I don't know why we come up with the names we come up with. I didn't invent it, so. But you are entitled to it because you were paid for it, I guess, so. You know, I'm dedicated to working in Congress to make sure that we protect those benefits, not just for your generation, but for future generations. That's the promise that was made. We need to continue to protect them, and I'm willing to work both sides of the aisle to solve that situation. As has been said before, these funds have been misused for years, starting back with a certain president, using them to fund wars that maybe were not necessary, or maybe they were. You know, in Congress, we've passed a number of legislation programs to help try to shore them up, build up Medicare issues. One of those issues is the HR2 Medicare Access, or the CHIP Reauthorization Act is what it was called. Another one that passed the House. It also was signed into law, by the way, the House and Senate, which is unusual, get anything done from congressional side to get the House to get it and then get the Senate to pass it also. This last year has been really frustrating as a congressman to have to deal with that issue. Now, we repealed the sustainable growth rate on SDR. That's been an issue for, I guess, well long before I even know what it was. So about 15 years, they could never come together on it. So it's created a new fee structure that helps pay those doctors and physicians under Medicare Part B. It did not take into account the specialized treatments, the old one, and this uniformity will lead to, has led to unnecessary cuts in the fee structure for doctors who accept that Medicaid Part B. These cuts would have led to doctors no longer accepting Medicare. And now this is an opportunity to bring those doctors back and have that access for those folks. It established a new merit-based incentive system, payment system that ensured physicians to receive adequate reimbursement for their procedures and on the Medicare patients. Now, as I've told you before, I don't think anybody in Congress is an expert, even they tell you they are. I don't believe that's the case. And so I've actually brought people here this evening that understand Social Security, Medicare, the SHIP system, and then another young man that's here to know some of the things that are moving forward to do a presentation somewhat himself. So with that, I'm going to have Senator Scott Hammond be the moderator tonight. But first, I'd like to start out with Janice Wiggins, the Director of the Governor's Office of Consumer Health. You let her have a short 2 or 3, 4 or 5 minutes to introduce herself and what she does.
Awesome, okay. Should I stand up for you all? Okay. I have a cheerleader voice from back in high school, so I can use that voice. Can everybody hear me okay in the back? Awesome. Well, as the Congressman said, my name is Janice Wiggins. I'm the Governor's Consumer Health Advocate with the state of Nevada. The office that I manage is called the Office for Consumer Health Assistance. Our office is located here locally in Las Vegas, so all of you folks can come and visit us anytime if in need. We're at the Grant Sawyer Building, 555 East Washington. I see some head nods, so folks know where we are. On the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard in Washington. We're on the 4th floor, suite 4800. What our office does is we have 5 ombudsmen that work in our office. The word ombudsman just means advocate. We're your advocate for health care. Whatever the issue is or problem that you may be having or someone else may have that's related to health care, our office can often intervene, direct you to programs that may be able to assist you or folks that you know. If Medicare denies a claim or a benefit to you, you can't get the medications that you need, let our office take a stab at it and help you out. Oftentimes, seniors have to wait on the phone for a while. They may not have access to the internet. Our office has contacts, liaisons that we work with that are governmental liaisons with us, that we can oftentimes get some pretty quick answers for folks. And also help to appeal denials. We do a whole variety of things. If it looks like healthcare, smells like healthcare, we can probably touch it in some way, shape, or form. And we have some excellent contacts with our partners at Social Security, as well as all the major insurers, even the Medicare Advantage plans. We have contacts there as well. So we're just here to assist. You'll hear from the other panelists about what it is that they can offer as well and what they do offer. We also work with the SHIP program, who's another one of our sister agencies over in the Division of Aging, and they'll talk a little bit more about what they do. So thank you so much, Congressman, for inviting me to be here, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
We have Jason Phelps. He's the operations supervisor on Social Security Administration for the Las Vegas area. So, Jason.
Hi. I'm one of the operations supervisors for the Social Security program at the Charleston and Buffalo location. There are 3 offices in this valley, 3 Social Security offices to serve you. There's one at the south end of town in Henderson, eastern, just off the St. Louis Parkway. There's one closer to you, closer to this neighborhood, North Las Vegas, on Craig and Simmons. I work at the Charleston and Buffalo location. Now, co-located within the benefits office at Charleston and Buffalo is the Las Vegas Social Security Card Center. Certain major urban areas, the agency has dedicated card centers. What that means in practical terms is if you lived in Henderson or you lived up in the north end of town, you went to your closest office, the only service that would not be able to be handled at that office would be the issuance or replacement of a Social Security card. You have to go to a dedicated location in southern Nevada, and that's located at the Charleston and Buffalo complex. Our hours of operation, we're open Monday through Friday to the public from 9 to 4, with the exception of Wednesday. We're open to the public on Wednesday from 9 to 12. The card center, however, is open a full day from 9 to 4. In this valley, the agency schedules appointments for initial claims only. So for initial disability, initial retirement, initial survivors, initial Medicare, initial SSI, initial dependent, Social Security dependent claims. We schedule appointment for those, but anything that's referred to as post-entitlement or after an award is issued, all those issues are, we see people on a first-come, first-served basis. There are alternatives to coming into the office. The National 800 number has extended hours. That number is 1-800-772-1213. That's the National Social Security 800 number, and there are multiple locations throughout the country, from Buffalo, New York to out in the Pacific and Honolulu. So with the extended hours, we can begin to take calls locally here as early as 5 in the morning till as late as 7 in the evening. And they're batched and they're routed according to the time zones and availability of employees and call volume and such. So that's one way to conduct business with the agency. Another is each of the offices has staff every day that answers telephone calls. Now the local number to the office that I work at is 866-704-4859. That's a public line. We have staff there. Vast majority of issues that you may have, either the need to schedule an appointment, or you just have a general inquiry, or you're already receiving benefits and you need some follow-up business, we can handle the vast majority of those issues over the phone. The internet is also an excellent vehicle for transacting business or receiving questions and answers that you may have to the agency. By establishing a My SSA account, there's a number of things that you can do. You can verify your earnings. If you're receiving benefits, you can print a 1099, your tax form. You can print a benefit verification. You can request a replacement Medicare card. You can change your phone number, change your direct deposit information, change your address. There's many things you can do online without the need to have to actually make an appearance and wait in the office. The agency we have 3 primary responsibilities for which our stewardship and our workloads fall under. We handle the Social Security, which is an insurance program. We handle SSI, Supplemental Security Income, which is a needs-based federal welfare program. And we're the gatekeepers for Medicare. We enroll people in Medicare and we collect premiums for Medicare. And all our workloads would fall under those 3 auspices.
Thank you. Now we have John Gerlich here. He's with the Nevada State Health Insurance Assistance Program, or SHIP, we call it.
Good evening, everyone. I don't think I would need a mic. I have a very loud voice, so you should be able to hear me. SHIP is the State Health Insurance Assistance Program. It assists in Medicare questions that recipients have. It assists people in initial enrollment in making choices as to what is the best option for a person for their Medicare. We also assist people in applying for and finding out about additional assistance programs. As an example, Medicaid along with Medicare. Programs that are offered both at the federal level and the state level for assistance in medications in your Part D situation, especially if any of you that take a lot of medications are already familiar with the donut hole. There is assistance for people who are in the donut hole at a fairly high annual income, people up to $21,000 for a single person. If that is your total annual income from Social Security, et cetera, you still can receive assistance while in the donut hole to bring your co-pays down quite a bit. We do this type of assistance in two ways, either on phone calls, on a one-on-one basis, or you can schedule an appointment to come into the office. The office is located on the east side of town, on Sahara, roughly 2 blocks east of Eastern. So it's kind of a long ways for you folks to get over there. But we do most of the counseling over the phone. If you call the following number, 702-486-3478. That's 486-3478. You call, leave some basic information with the receptionist, and someone will then call you back, probably the next day. If it's during open enrollment, it could be 3 or 4 days before you'll get a call back. The program is basically a state program that is financed through grants from the federal government, and the bulk of the people that work within SHIP are volunteers like myself. SHIP offers a training program, roughly 6 hours worth of training in Medicare questions and how to deal with them and how to find out the best way to handle a person's receiving Medicare. The most important thing I want to pass on tonight, open enrollment. Every one of you, whether you're on an Advantage plan or you're on traditional Medicare and have a Part D drug plan, during open enrollment from October 15th to December 7th, you really, really, really should go and check and see what is going to be the best plan for you for the following year for Part D or on your Advantage plan. Insurance companies constantly, every year, change the formularies. They move medications from one tier, it's a 4-tier system usually. They'll move it from one tier, which is generic drugs. They could move it all the way up to a preferred brand name drug, in which case your co-pays are going to change considerably for those drugs. The premiums also change every year.
Is that a decision that the insurance company makes or that the Medicare makes?
Insurance company makes that. Drug plans are at the arbitrary decision of the insurance companies. They basically try to structure it so they will attract the most new people to their plan. So if previous experience shows this drug is not taking that often, they may move it to a higher plan so they can move some other drug lower and still make the same profitability. They still will have the same cost-benefit analysis for themselves. So you really, really need to check it every year. That is the most important thing of anything I could tell you tonight. And I appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have Mr. Eric Parker Erickson. Parker Erickson, got that right. Anyway, he's with the Association of Mature American Citizens. He's much, much older than he is.
I'm still currently maturing. AMAC. So we're not a federal agency, we're an advocacy group. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard of AARP. So AMAC is the conservative alternative to AARP.
Great.
Come 2008, I'll tell you the story of AMAC real quickly. Dan Weber is the president and founder of AMAC. He ran a very large insurance investment company in New York State. When Obamacare came down in 2010, his insurance companies that he used to insure his employees severed their plans with him, and he was left with about 50 employees with no insurance plans. Following that issue and his knowledge of pension plans that he was running, he ran thousands of 457 plans for volunteer firefighters in New York. He and his wife, after they retired, got very bored 3 months into it and decided that they were going to start their own senior advocacy group, AMAC. So the big tenets of AMAC are making sure Social Security is solvent, making sure that those who paid into their Social Security get their benefits. And then the second tier of that is healthcare, making healthcare more affordable and accessible to all people regardless of income levels. I guess the most recent issue that AMAC has been pushing as we have a bigger presence in Washington DC now. We do have 1.3 million members nationwide now. We started with 2 people in their basement, but now we're 1.3 million people nationwide.
Wow.
I'm sorry?
Wow.
Yeah, it's great, right?
I never heard of you.
Yeah, I love AMAC.
You're talking about employer sponsored healthcare plans. Would you advocate what they have in the state of Hawaii, where if you work more than 19 and a half hours a week, and you make a minimum of $635 a month, your employer must provide health care and must pay for at least half?
Wow.
We get
No.
scared of federal mandates.
That's Hawaii, that's state.
Yeah. So I'm not entirely well versed on Hawaiian politics or how their healthcare plan runs, but I know, just going back to our message, states and the people who run their businesses know the best way to protect their employees and themselves. So that's kind of our whole thing. And the biggest thing that we've been pushing lately on the Hill is, as you all are probably aware, there was no cost of living adjustment granted in 2016.
We're not happy about that.
Yeah, so.
Well, that added another 19 billion.
Yeah. Well, what we wanted to do, there were a lot of plans out there. Some on both sides of the aisle were proposing 3.9% cost of living adjustments with no pay-fors, equating roughly $40 billion in brand new spending. AMAC teamed up with members on both the left and the right to introduce a 1% cost of living adjustment piece of legislation, which was approximately between $9 and $11 billion in new spending, but with $13.5 billion in waste, fraud, and abuse offsets. The idea being we're not going to create new spending because that's bad behavior. We're going to cut fraud, waste, and abuse to compensate for the new spending that's going to be done. So we've been on the Hill advocating for that. So that's what we've been trying to do. As we move further down, as AMAC gets bigger, we're trying to advocate more Social Security. We call them guarantees because we don't want to reform Social Security so much as guarantee it for future generations to come. And in the meantime, we've also introduced an alternative plan to Obamacare that will actually insure those who still are yet to be insured. There's roughly 32 million people who have yet to be insured. Depending on who you get anywhere between 20 million to 38 million people who are still uninsured, while at the same time reducing some of the exchanges that are happening. So that's just AMAC in a nutshell. I'll be happy to answer any questions afterwards or during this thing.
Just a real quick, you said you introduced
Legislation.
a new health insurance plan?
I'll answer him real quick. We haven't introduced it in Congress. We've been working with Chairman Price. He's chairman of the Budget Committee. He has his own plans. We've been working with him a lot to come up with this plan. We've been borrowing from Heritage Foundation, AEI, Chairman Price, just everyone to try and create an alternative, get some traction behind it so we can focus more on things that are more fiscally responsible than just top-down approach to healthcare. So.
Do you have a brochure or something?
Yeah, it's on the table
Oh, it's on the
outside.
table?
Okay, what we'll do here is, now this is what we're here for. This is a senior town hall. We want to talk about healthcare and Social Security issues. Senator Scott Hammond's going to be our moderator and kind of address your comments. So you can address them to whoever you want to talk to. So
Well, you need to
we'll turn the time over to the senator here from State Senator Scott Hammond, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here tonight. I don't have a tremendously loud voice, but I do have a teacher voice when I need it. So hopefully you guys can hear me in the very back. Are you straining really hard to hear me?
No.
No? What? Okay. Don't do this to me, because you know what? I always point out those kids who give me a hard time. You don't want to be that one under the microscope.
Where's Donna Spearman? Isn't she our senator?
Senator Spearman?
Yeah.
For some of you, yes. For some of you, I'm also located in Congressman Hardy's district. I'm in District 18. He asked me to come in here today and help moderate, which I have no problem. I know the guy pretty well. The second session that we spent up in Carson City together, he and I shared a house together with another legislator. So he's asked me to come in here and just kind of field some of the questions. And I appreciate you guys being here tonight. I know if you guys are like me, I'm a big basketball fan. And there's a lot of good games going on, but we sacrifice our time to be here tonight so that you can get educated on what you need out of these four individuals. And these guys right here, I'm telling you, I'm excited to hear some of the questions and the answers that are going to be provided. They know their stuff. So without any further ado, we'll go ahead and begin. If you have a question, I'll just start the queue right here. And if you could provide your name before you ask a question. I'm not going to ask you for your pick on who's going to win the NCAA tournament, but if you want to give that, you know, you have to beat me out, which is either Syracuse or the you of you, which I have in common with this gentleman right here. We'll start right here, sir.
It's Norman Osteen, and I would like to thank the congressman for bringing all these agency members here, but unfortunately, the question is one I'm going to have to ask the congressman. And actually, it'll be a two-part question. After he answers the first part, I'll ask him another question.
Okay, go ahead,
It will be
Norman.
related. Okay. On the TV program, Meet the Press, Alan Greenspan, who, as you know, is the former head of the Federal Reserve and member of the Social Security Commission in the 1980s, which among other things.
Norman, I hate to interrupt you right here, but I want to make sure that when we're asking these questions that they pertain to the topic tonight. I'm sure it does, but I want to make sure I say that again so everybody hears me one more time. We're going to try and make sure it pertains to senior issues. Go ahead,
It's a
continue.
funding question.
It's a what?
Funding question.
Go ahead then, Norman.
Okay, well, Alan Greenspan was on Meet the Press, and he was on the Social Security Commission, which I think was in 1983, because after that, federal employees had to participate in Social Security. And he was asked specifically, what about the crisis in Social Security? And his response was, there is no crisis in Social Security, it's a payroll tax issue. So I would like the congressman to respond to that. And then I'll have one other question also.
Okay, just answer that question. There is a Social Security crisis issue. Folks, we're 19 trillion in debt. You know, our government continues to issue bonds and other issues to get funded. We just could print money. And so if this nation goes bankrupt, which it's well on the way to do so, what collapses? What all the things, if there's no money available, what happens to that? How do you pay for those issues? You got to look at the whole picture, because if a nation in distress and the funding's not available to pay, where do you get the money to pay for those Social Security issues? Yes, I paid into it. I paid lots of bills, paid lots of taxes.
You raise the age. Income limit.
You know, we've talked about that issue. You know what happened in 2012 when they talked about raising the age? Paul Ryan was accused of pushing Granny over the cliff. Okay? And so it's something that has to be. There's a number of issues we need to look at. Matter of fact, AMAC was in my office last week, and I was kind of interested in their plan they've got. It can actually strengthen Social Security, according to their numbers. I told them what I want to see is I want to see come back to CBO and have those numbers evaluated to see if it actually can strengthen Social Security. We got to stop putting everything together as $1. That's what the government's done, because it has weakened it. You know, I like to use the word, it was in a lockbox over here. It should have stayed in the lockbox by itself. It should have had gold reserves backing it up. If you're going to bond for it, put bonding out there. Let me give you an example. You got Puerto Rico right now. Big issue. It's bankrupt, basically. They want us to just exempt their bonds and let it collapse. They want to be on the the bankruptcy program just like the rest of this country. Who pays for that? At the end of the day, those bondholders are going to lose their dollar. And what happens with that? Now when the United States wants to sell bonds, that weakens the bonding rate and puts us in real jeopardy to really lose to be able to do infrastructure bonds. Government bonds are some of the most secure things out there, but only as long as you've got collateral to back it up. So that's where I'm at with this issue. And the other